Well, thank you very much. And on behalf of the American Heart Association, American Stroke Association, we just appreciate this opportunity to, and we appreciate also the volunteer ambassadors that we have now that are not only going to work within the communities of New Jersey to spread the awareness and the information, the educational materials, and also, as you all have now, the CPR Anytime kits to help save lives and keep people healthy in New Jersey, but also even in India, as we look to what we can do there. And the American Heart Association's overall mission is to build healthier lives free from heart, cardiovascular disease, and stroke. We have an impact goal that we've set for the year 2020 to improve the cardiovascular health of all Americans and beyond by 20%, but also reduce death and disability from cardiovascular disease by 20%. So it's something that we are holding ourselves accountable to, and the way we're going to do that is by getting out into the community and getting where to the areas where people can hear the messages, can receive the information, and the only way we're going to do that is through our volunteer ambassadors who can help us do that. This is the first time I've ever been, and it really has been spectacular, so thank you for that. And I just so much appreciate our volunteers and our hosts and all the folks who help the Heart Association, the Stroke Association, reach the goals of saving lives and keeping everybody here healthy. So with that, I think I'll turn it over now to Dr. Bonnie.
First of all, I'd like to thank you all for turning up in such good numbers. We tried to announce what we could to let you know. Basically, all of you have seen that heart attacks and strokes are very, very common in the Indian community for various reasons. And half the time, almost all the time, it is an unexpected time, unexpected place that it happens. That it's not going to say, I'm going to come, you'll be at rest at the hospital or something. It just comes wherever you are, at work, on the bus, in the field, on the road. And that is the problem with it, that you don't know when it's going to happen. And there are occasions when a heart attack can make somebody unresponsive. So we are trying to educate people to know that it's not only a stroke or a coma, a bleed or something. It could also be a heart attack in a young 45-year-old, which could make somebody unresponsive at times. And then there is a very critical window of time that we have to act. And if we don't, the quality of life is gone, or life itself is gone. Because there is a circulation deficit that occurs in the 3-4 minutes. Tell me if I get too technical, I can make it simpler. But there are 3 to 4 minutes during that time that the circulation is either slowed down or almost nil to the heart. And the heart, meaning, even though the heart is full of blood, the heart does not get oxygen from that blood. It gets its oxygen from its own arteries. And if there is no circulation going because the heart is not pumping anymore, then the heart also doesn't get its oxygen, the brain doesn't get oxygen, so the vital organs don't function anymore. So once the brain loses circulation for 3 to 4 minutes, the person is a vegetable, even if the person survives. That is the problem. So even if the person does make it to the emergency room and does survive, he or she may not be able to do anything. Yes? Oh, I'm not. Sorry. And one more thing is, most of us have been under the impression for a very long time that it's only males who are more susceptible to heart attacks. Now we are getting to know more and more that females are not exempt. They're not exempt from this. The only protection for ladies is until menopause, there is a certain amount of protection from the hormones. But now that females are also working, meaning at regular stressful jobs, just like males, the stress is there for everybody equally, if not more for females, because they're trying to be housewife, mom, wife, plus doing their CEO job or whatever other job it is, plus driving on the road and everything. So the stress level is much, much higher than what it used to be. So the risk is very much almost equal for men and women. And after menopause, it is known to be equal anyway. So basically, we want to drive home the point that CPR is something that is not only for medical people, not only for doctors and nurses and paramedical people. If we try to understand the importance of it and learn how to do it, it is doable by everybody. So we have to open our minds. Just like we get a gadget, oh, we cannot touch it. Most of us feel initially like that. But now cell phone and gadgets is a toy for everybody. Everybody knows it.
So if we just open our minds and be objective and try to learn it, then we won't hesitate to act when there is a problem. We won't be onlookers, we'll actually go and do something. This is what I want to drive home the point.
And if I might, I'm just going to add a couple, and that was exactly right. That's exactly why it's so important that we feel that everybody should learn how to do CPR. And the reality of it is, if somebody suffers sudden cardiac arrest, which is essentially the heart is just fibrillating in a way that is no longer effective, unless that person is receiving CPR and the amount of time before a defibrillator gets there to shock it back, the person is likely either going to end up a vegetable or not going to make it. And the reality of it is between 90 and 95% of those who have cardiac arrest do not make it because people are not doing CPR and an a defibrillator is not arriving soon enough. So as soon as anybody who is comfortable with learning CPR and doing CPR, as soon as that starts, particularly after somebody calls 911, the more likelihood there is of saving that life. And the way we look at it now is the breaths. You know, everybody's afraid to kind of do the breaths. The breaths are not as important anymore. What we see is the pumping, the contractions. That's the important piece, and it can be at 100 beats per minute. So if everybody knows the song Staying Alive, you know, the old song, that's 100 beats per minute. So if you do that as you're singing that song, compressions, you know you're doing it at the right amount of speed, 100 beats per minute. But the CPR Anytime kit that you'll see in front of you is a self-facilitated way to learn CPR. There's a blow-up mannequin in there to show it clicks when you're doing it right. A DVD shows you how to do it. And one of the nice things about it is once you learn it, you hand it off to somebody else and they learn it. You hand it off to somebody else. The multiplier effect of it is very important. The hope is that everybody's comfortable to do it when somebody drops. So I just wanted to mention that. And again, thank you all so much for this. It's just another great way to get more people to know how to do CPR.
We'll come to questions in a minute. I don't know if you followed everything that he said. He also mentioned about fibrillation and defibrillator, which are all new terms for most of you and unknown terms. So basically what happens if a person becomes unresponsive from a heart attack, what happens is the heart, which is supposed to be beating at 72 or so, is no longer regularly beating. If it doesn't beat regularly, the effectiveness of the physical pump is zero. Because instead of doing this, the heart is like vibrating like this. If it's vibrating like a tuning fork, the effectiveness of the pump is zero because there's no movement like this at all. So that is what is ventricular fibrillation. Those are the things he was referring to. And there is a next step after the compressions. There is in India, I was traveling and I saw in the airport, a bus is taking me from one place to the flight and stuff, and I see the AED box is there in every bus. I asked a few people, do you know what that means? Of course, nobody knows. And the bus driver and the bus conductor know absolutely nothing about anything. So basically what I'm saying is, they are there as showpieces, and that's no use. And the defibrillator is the next step. Once we do physical compression, if somebody knows how to use a defibrillator, they can undo that fibrillation to bring back a normal rhythm. That is what that is. And it doesn't require, the way they made that machine is a very simple process so that somebody who's absolutely non-medical can use it so long as they become comfortable with the gadget use. And I think gadget use is something everybody's becoming very comfortable with these days. As new iPods and new iPhones and new something comes up, everybody's learning it that quick. So I think it's time that we move on and say, this is not just for paramedicals and medicals, so maybe we can save lives within our families and within our neighborhood and within our work field or wherever it is. So I'm trying to see how we can get the bus station, bus drivers and conductors, gym instructors, and probably the college students are ready for it. They are ready to learn like a sponge, and they are teenagers and old enough to do these things. So, and they are also good at gadgets. So if we can get these people educated, then we can get things, we can probably save a lot of lives and save a quality loss. Because as I said, as he said too, after 3-4 minutes, even if the patient does survive, there is no quality of life. He's like a vegetable. So what's the use, right? So that's why we are trying to drive this home to tell you that this is not something only for paramedicals and doctors and nurses. If people get comfortable, you can actually save lives. And I would like to thank the American Heart Association for coming forward to help us help the Indian community get educated. And the CPR take-home kit is a thing that they are giving out to us. It basically gives you the opportunity to take home and watch it repeatedly and practice for yourself and whoever else comes to your house, so that way a lot of people get to know. And naturally, any gadget, you keep using the iPhone, that's why you know how to use it. So unless you keep doing it, you never know, you're never comfortable. That's the reason we are asking you to take it home, use it as and when, and get familiar. So then, CPR, it's also that as you will watch the DVD, you will see it's not like massaging a muscle, because there is the rib cage and the sternum, which is a big bone. So you have to compress not just like this, but real force. And then 100 per minute, as he said. So that is why we need to learn it. If we don't learn it, we won't be effective. Although we are pretending to do it or attempting to do it, we won't be effective. I would like to now hand over the mic, to Dr. Radha Rajagopalan, who is also my chitti, my mother's sister, and she's in Apollo Hospital as the Director of Medical Education and a practicing pediatrician. She's been in Apollo for a long time, and she will tell you about things that they are doing in Apollo and what more they could do. Right now, they do have some educational activities for public, and I would like to also take CPR kits for these educational activities, so people there can also get to actually hands-on experience and get to be comfortable.
A very good evening to all of you. It's very nice that there are so many people that have come for this meeting. And above all, I would like to thank Mr. Bill Thompson, who is here. It's very nice of him, Dr. Dr. Krishnan, Mr. Guruvayurappan, and my dear niece, who is a medical professional, a nephrologist, and a professional physician training. We are very proud of her. Now, this is a very nice opportunity for us to talk about what the public should do in case of emergency. This is a good partnership with American Heart Association. And in Apollo, like I belong to Apollo Hospitals in Chennai. As you all know, Chennai Hospital was the first one to start, and now we have in many cities Apollo Hospitals, almost 35 hospitals run by the Apollo Hospitals management, and there are many clinics and so on and so forth. And our chairman, Dr. Pratap Reddy, is well known to everybody, and he has emphasized. And he has been a cardiologist, and hence a lot of emphasis has been on cardiology. And I'll quote one instance wherein, in the beginning years, we just called up a few people from the, from corporates as well as from top positions, and we called them and just gave a talk about CPR, which will be useful, just like that. And a week later, one lady turned up. She said, I listened to the class where they said you can even do heart massage. Suddenly somebody in the neighborhood had fainted, and she didn't know what to do, but she had heard this, that you can pump or something like that. She said she did pump somewhat, and then brought the patient there, and everybody said somebody has done a good thing because this patient was in fibrillation. Now what I'm trying to bring to the notice of all of you is, informations like this, if they are well taken, can definitely be very useful, and therefore it will be helpful in resuscitating the people. Of course, we talk a lot about even prevention, but at the moment what we are talking is CPR. Now, for instance, in Apollo Hospitals, we are actually Apollo Chennai's regional training center for American Heart Association, and we conduct advanced cardiopulmonary resuscitations, ACL courses per year. But apart from it, for the public, these advanced courses are mostly for the doctors and the paramedics maybe. But we also conduct a lot of community-based lifesavers, life support programs. We have this basic life support program, and in this, we do bring in some mannequins and call people in groups and try to give them some, first-hand training. This is given to all our employees in the hospital and who are non-medical as well, and to a lot of other people from the corporate sector whenever they ask us to give this. And we have trained a lot of traffic police officers so that they would be familiar with all these things. And we really went a step ahead. We said, we have these three-wheelers in India, these auto rickshaws. They carry a lot of the people all around the whole cities in India, and many times even the patients are even brought by them. So we brought in a few of these auto rickshaw persons and taught them some of these basics, and they really appreciated it. So when we found that it is being appreciated, it can also be put to action, and that will be a life saving for the public. A lot of the nurseries, I'm a pediatrician, we teach pediatric first aid to a lot of the school teachers, and that is very helpful. Similarly, we have this basic life support from women's social groups, some college students, but particularly physiotherapists, and as you mentioned, the gymnastics, gym areas, and some of the sports arena, we make sure that people are informed and people know about it. And these are some of the things that we are doing. And it is not enough to do it once, one bit of training. It's a training that they need again and again. If you do it once and then you don't do it again, you're really going to forget it. So it should be done again and again, periodically, maybe once a year, once in 2 years, I don't know. We'll have to see what will be the best time period for them. But a large number of people should be trained again and again as well. So all this costs a lot of money, the educational material, the kits and all that. At the present time, we give them a lot of educational material, but mannequins are all usually with the organization, the hospitals, and that is how we give the training. And at the present time, I'm very pleased with my niece because she's doing something like she's going to give a big program in Chennai, and I think this is the first time she's told me all this, so we'll have to, the Apollo Hospital will readily try to help in, bringing in the doctors there to, help her with the program for the public. So it needs actually that the public should be well educated. This is just the beginning, and I think we will have more such programs to come, and this will definitely help the public. And I'm very pleased with the AHA that they are concerned so much about the public education as well, and it is a wonderful thing. I'm sure you all will appreciate that, and I thank the AHA for this. And thank you.
Thank you. People, maybe we can play the DVD. You had questions, sir?
At the end, maybe you can
Okay.
deal with it.
Or-
Basically, there are ethical and legal issues also that somebody will, or you can, recently that California incident that the nursing home refused to do it, person died, so maybe you can elaborate on that.
Sure. For the most part, there's a couple of things along the way here. So one of the things that the Heart Association did early on when the automated defibrillators became so automated was we pushed policy legislation that allowed laypersons to use the device if they were trained and then be given good Samaritan protection from liability. So if somebody in good faith tries to save somebody's life by doing CPR, by using an automated defibrillator, then they're covered and they can't be sued, and there's not going to be anything that can be thrown against them. Not only the person, but also the entity or the organization that oversees them. So what happened in California was I'm not sure what happened on that site and why they did it that way, but overall the protections that are given now for good Samaritan reaction to somebody who needs help with CPR with an automated defibrillator, we've covered that through legislation that the Heart Association has pushed and actually wrote. So that's one of the things there. And if they're in a nursing home and there's a DNR, then there may be some implications there that nursing staff may need to know. But overall, there shouldn't be anybody that feels uncomfortable with responding because of the Good Samaritan policies that are in place.
I think you pointed out that if you have been trained, you have better position.
Exactly.
Bill, is this true also on flights, when you're on international flights? Especially being a doctor, and if you're flying and there's a problem, there's a big debate in your mind. What am I supposed to do? The natural thing is to go and help, but there's always this other thing you have to think about. So Could you?
You know, that's a good one. That's a good question. I'm not real sure about international laws in flight. I know that anywhere within the United States, because one of the things that we, like I said, were pushing as far as legislation was for that to be passed in every state. And then there was the Cardiac Arrest Survival Act that we passed federally that blanket covered essentially the federal government from sea to shining sea. In-flight, international, I'm not real sure. I do know that most planes now have the automated defibrillators on them. And I also know that most of the flight attendants are trained in how to use them. So I would think that probably as a physician you'd probably step up. But I would also think that they are trained in how to respond as well. So if you're uncomfortable, at least you have somebody there that can do it. You know, the other thing too is just with the kits that you have in front, we're going to see the DVD that's included in every single kit. So it facilitates the training. It's about 22 minutes long, and it has the blow-up mannequin. So, but we were mentioning before how hard you have to push down. You'll hear a clicking sound in the mannequin, and it'll tell you, yes, you pressed hard enough. So, so not only will it facilitate through the DVD, you'll have that mannequin to use, and you'll hear that you're doing it the right way. So I just wanted to clarify that as well, which is a pretty great thing.
The clicking sound in a real person could be breaking a rib or two, but it doesn't matter. The rib can be broken, but the heart is saved, and the life is saved. Now with the DVD, please.
I've showed up several times. We get the call, 911, you have a response to a cardiac emergency or cardiac arrest, and everyone is just standing around, whether it's co-workers or whether it's loved ones. They could have been doing CPR prior to our arrival. And
it took me, a teenager, to step over there and say that something needed to be done. Just because of the CPR training that I had received in high school, I knew what to do in a situation like that. I knew the signs of when somebody needs CPR. So my training kicked in, and it was kind of like being back in the classroom, responding to it. I told somebody to call 911, and I performed the CPR until the EMTs and the police department and the fire department came.
everyone should know CPR because everyone has a heartbeat. And you never know when an emergency is going to happen, when someone may go into cardiac arrest. If you don't do CPR, then the person doesn't survive.
I didn't have any response from him, and when the EMTs arrived, they didn't get any response from him until they got him to the hospital, and when he was in the hospital, he was stabilized. When they told me that I had saved his life, I kind of started crying, but it was more like a relief tears that I had actually helped somebody instead of letting them die on the street.
Anytime a friend or loved one is hurt, our first instinct is to help. Hi, my name is Lydia Mackey, and in the next few minutes I'm going to show you hands-only CPR, including how to know if someone...
The Guru's card is in there too to reach out to him if you have any questions on that. But I do, again, truly appreciate this opportunity here to talk to you about CPR. I so much appreciate our volunteer ambassadors on this and our work, not only in New Jersey, but even across in India. So.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, thank you for the training. Do we have this DVD available?
It's in the kit.
It's in the
kit. Yeah. The kit has the thing that you inflate. It's called the medical, and it also has the DVD. Yes. Yes. I would like to hand the mic to Dr. Kamakshi Krishnan for a word of thanks.
The person should be on a firm ground. But suppose there's a large person and you can't really get the person out onto a firm ground.
You can put what we do in hospitals, for example, we have some hard things that we put underneath. So if the person is already on the sofa, we have to put something hard. It could be wood, it could be whatever hard, even a cutting plate, the big ones, right? The thick cutting plates which are solid. Push it underneath the chest before you start, otherwise it's going to be ineffective. Yeah. Dr. Kamakshi Krishnan is also a retired ER physician, so she'll be able to highlight more.
So it's my pleasure to stand here and give a little talk. I'm a retired physician and I worked in an emergency room almost 30 years. And I also used to give classes on basic life support as well as advanced cardiac life support. So I know the importance of it. If anybody wants any help how to do it later, I'm in the temple very often and I can help anybody. So it is very important to know how to do it, and you don't have to be afraid of doing it. And I understand the kit shows everything how to do it. The very important thing is it has to be, the person has to be on a hard surface lying down, and your pose is also very important. You have to kneel down and you have to put arms straight like this, and you have to press it about 2 to 2.5 inches down, and a weight of about 25 pounds you have to apply to do that. Now it says it is 100 times, 100 compressions a minute. It keeps changing. When I was giving the classes, it was not 100. Now it is 100.
That's why we have research and development, R&D. Your valuable contributions go for that.
And there was a breathing also. You had to give 2 breaths. You had to first make sure whether the person is breathing, whether the patient is awake, whether there is a heartbeat, and then you start. That it was like that. Now the breathing is not given importance because of the reason he said. So the compression is very important. And you have to start it. If you start it within 4 minutes, there is a possibility that the life will come back. If delayed, there is no blood supply to the brain and to the other important organs. So the timing is also very important. The 4 minutes is the critical time. What else I was saying? I don't know whether
He said it's a big man holding into hospital and holding push.
Oh, that you have to push,
So
yeah.
compressions have to be given.
Wherever you can, yeah. The big man, the compression will be more difficult. Now, there is another thing. When you are in a restaurant, somebody can choke with the food. I don't know, is it in
The DVD goes on a little bit further, but that is another piece too, is the Heimlich, which is...
It is the procedure is called Heimlich maneuver. You have to give compression in the stomach if they are laying on the back, if you can put them on the back, or you have to do that. If the DVD shows that, it is good. If not, maybe at a later date, we can make arrangements to give a course here.
Most kids learn it in school. They do it for each other. They hug them from behind and push. If you push like this from behind, it comes out.
And it will come out. So that is another thing you have to do. Then she spoke about the defibrillator, which is very important. If most of the people who get a heart attack and who becomes unresponsive, they are in a condition called ventricular fibrillation, where, as she mentioned, the heart beats like that. The only way to stop it is if you can defibrillate it, it comes to the normal rhythm. And that is the thing you can see in many places. It says AED, automatic defibrillator. And it shows, it has the full instructions in that. But if you don't know, you will be afraid to use it. I think this temple, there are so many people coming all the time. There are elderly people here many times, and we do need one in this temple. Maybe I can ask Dr. Krishnan, who happens to be my husband, to get one at this facility. We don't have one here, and we really need one. And once it comes here, I can show how to operate it. It's very easy. The full instruction is here. When you put that, it says how to put it. Then it says you have to charge it. Then it will tell whether you need to put it on or off. It will tell you whether person is in a defibrillation or not. That also it will say. So that is one thing we have to get it in this temple. And everybody should know how to operate it. It is very easy and it is fully described there. You take it and it will tell you how to do it. Whether you have to press it or not, that also it will tell. So maybe we should get one here. In many places it is there, but people don't know how to use it and they are afraid to use it. if you go to a shopping center, it will be there. If you go to a gym place, it will be there. Wherever in a big place, people are there. It is there, but we don't have one here.
People do not know how to use it.
So once if
the unit is there.
If one comes here, I promise you, I will show everybody how to use it.
Actually, the idea of doing this itself occurred to me by looking at the AED box in buses in India, and nobody knows anything. So I think that fetched an AED box to the temple, and the education is going to come from Dr. Kamakshi to everybody. And that's a great thing. So AED is what it's, if you look at the letters, you will know what it is. So, what I wanted to say, if you are happy with this program and you think it's useful, it will be good if you can spread the word about 2 more programs in other temples that's going to happen of exactly same nature. On June 9th, this Thursday, 8 o'clock at Edison. What did I say? Sorry, I'm sorry. May 9th, this Thursday at 8 p.m. in Krishna Vrindavan Temple on May Street, Edison. We're going to do the same thing. And on May 13th, next Monday, similar time, 6:30 p.m. in Bridgewater Temple. And Bill Thompson is also going to be there at Bridgewater Temple. So it'll be nice if you can spread the word so more people benefit from it. Thank you.
No, is it too much or too little? How would we know how far you can go? If it takes 20 minutes for, the help to arrive, how far along?
Since you cannot assess the improvement or not, I think it'll be good for you to continue. If there are other people to assist you, you can show them how to do it and get relief if you're tired. But the first step that she said, make sure somebody calls 911. You have to make sure, and if you just call 911 softly and you just do CPR, then it's no use because 911 is not going to be notified. So you have to be authoritative when you say, call 911. Okay? If nobody is there, you make that phone call first before you start, because otherwise it's going to be useless because you cannot go on forever. Thank you.
The other question I had is, what is it about the different system, and then you start building the profession, would it actually hurt their life if you did it for someone who was not in the
Okay, my question is, will it hurt to do this if their symptom is actually something else?
Like if someone passed out and you think it's a heart attack.
Actually, that's very important. You have to, it may be something else. They just, the blood sugar went down and they passed out and they don't need to do that. You have to know whether the heart is beating or not. So, does it say that?
Yeah, well, it says, what it says is they try to really simplify this for the lay person who may be walking along and something happens. So you really try and get the person to wake up. If they're not going to wake up, and you don't hear them breathing, then you go to it. That's what they're saying.
We have to see. Yeah. You have to look at the pulse.
Right.
If the person has good pulse, then you don't need to do this.
It didn't say that.
It did, yeah. But I think that what they did was, instead of complicating it somewhat, the truth of the matter is, if you are a credentialed responder and somebody who does this, then it's very important to make sure you're checking the pulse and everything else. If you're a lay person going along and you're not real comfortable with where pulse is or anything like that, if you shake somebody and they're not waking up and you don't feel them breathing, they say do CPR. That's for the lay person walking along, that's what they're saying. If you're comfortable enough with checking the pulse and feeling like you can realize that, then do that as well. But for a lay person who's not credentialed, the comfort zone of doing CPR and recognizing somebody who's down and trying to find out either if they're breathing or if they're not waking up, then do CPR. Yeah.
Yeah, but you are not going to do it for a longer time because you did call 911 and somebody will be reaching there soon. So until then, you do it.
Yep.
Yeah. When you get tired, somebody else will do it.
Yep.
But again, asking the same question what she asked, would it hurt somebody?
No, it's not going to hurt. It's not going to hurt.
You might bruise
because you
your
are
rib or
only
something
increasing
like
the blood supply to the heart and to the brain.
Yeah.
Yes. Will it hurt? He said, will it hurt?
No, it's not going to hurt. It's going to improve the blood circulation, that's it.
Yeah, Yeah, you may bruise a rib, but other than that, I mean, you're not going to hurt the person more.
And you are not doing it for a longer time also. Somebody will, in the meantime, the emergency personnel should be arriving there. So, that's it.
You're saying 911, which is available in the US. Now you're taking this to India. So how are you going to train them, and what should be the response? Who are you going to call? Do you take the patient, put him in a rickshaw and take him to the hospital, or you continue with your CPR for... No. Over 5 or 10 minutes, they say, like, I'm trying to figure out if you take this kid to India, you can't say call 911. Call ambulance in a village, we don't know. Well, city in the city or somewhere.
I think that the key is, and what's nice about this is the folks who will go over and do some of the training will know enough about that local area to tailor it for that reason. And it may say call 911 on here, but I think it's important to preface it with, this is set up for right now, the American side. However, for here, let's make sure you do this instead.
I was discussing with my aunt about ambulance in India and how things are. They are trying to improve it, and people are beginning to realize that when the ambulance is arriving, going on the road with the siren on, they have to make way. Things are getting better, and roads are congested. It's not as easy as here, and hopefully things will improve. But there are in cities, so long as it's in a city, they can call the ambulance. If it's in a village or a real remote area, then it's always a problem, wherever, even here.
How long should you do? Can you take a break? Is it safe without jeopardizing the person?
If you are tired doing it, you are not going to continue it. But hopefully somebody else will be there. They can take over.
And I, it's funny. It's not funny. I was on the train going into New York, and there was somebody who was one row back from me, but on the other side of the aisle. And he made a sound like he was snoring very loud, an older gentleman. And we went to his wife, who was 2 rows up, and couldn't get a seat next to each other. And I asked, I said, is this normal? And she said no, so she tried waking him up, and then he from there went completely quiet. So we got him out of the chair because we talked about how you have to do it on the ground. We put him in the aisle of the train, and we did CPR. And the interesting thing there is the adrenaline kicks in. So you think you may get tired after 20 minutes, and you might, but you are, your mind is somewhere else, and your body is almost somewhere. You're going at the CPR, and it just kicks in. And I agree, you may get tired, and if you just can't go anymore, you can't go anymore, but you'd be surprised.
Just to answer that question, I think yesterday there was a program on TV from the doctors, the 3 doctors who talked about it, and they mentioned that husband and wife both being doctors, and wife had this attack, and husband going into the profession, he said, all I did this when I was in school, and it has been 2 decades ago, I just didn't remember, but it was his wife. So he said, without any help, normally we don't do it, he kept doing it for 45 minutes. He said, normally in medical profession, they don't ask you to go that long. He said, I had to do everything I did. And she survived.
Yeah, well that's the next thing. It's amazing what
he said,
CPR can
I
do.
just didn't want to give up any chance. So 45 minutes.
That's what I was, 45 minutes.
Yeah. That's why we can continue. So the point is, don't go by the numbers, do as much as you can.
And as he was saying, the adrenaline kicks in, so tiredness also may get delayed, your own tiredness. Because you're doing it for the first time and you're doing it to save somebody, then you're able to do much more.
The other thing I'll just say too is we talk now about the hands-only CPR compared to the breaths. And when you do a credentialed course, if you're somebody who is going to be trained and you need certification, they'll still teach you the breaths and all of that. The lay person piece here is the hands-only because that's the comfort zone. But what the Heart Association does every 5 years is look at the guidelines, and we rewrite the guidelines for what is the most effective around CPR, and that's part of the research we do. And then we let anybody use the guidelines. We let Red Cross use the guidelines, anybody else use the guidelines from there, no charge. But it's part of our overall research, and I don't know how much you know, but for instance, the Heart Association is the largest funder of cardiovascular research outside of the federal government. And since 1949, we've funded $3.4 billion in research, and this is one component of one of the pieces that we look at in research overall. So it's all, everything we do is based on science, and that's what we do.
Including many Asian Indians from our affiliate.
I'm sorry?
Including many Asian Indians from our affiliate got the research award.
That is absolutely true. So a lot of it goes out to grants, to institutions, to fellows, to physicians, and a very large Indian population are researchers for us, which is terrific for us. Yes.
Question, we talked about adults, the incidents like you talked about, the women have more stress. What are the statistics for the infants, the children?
I'll hand it over to my aunt who's a pediatrician. What is the incidence of cardiac arrest? You asked what incidence, right? That is statistics.
In other words, the statistics for the children, because there's no stress, quote unquote. So how many, do you have any?
Yeah, the children, for them the cardiopulmonary resuscitation is very different, okay? Because their respirations are also faster than the normal adults. So we have different, we go by the resuscitation for cardiac arrest along with the respiration, and our counts are different from the adults.
No, I understand that. I'm saying, is there a statistics how many children get into this kind of difficulty like the adults are?
It's more, it follows more, respiratory infections where they can go into respiratory arrest and then cardiac arrest as well. But we have also seen that the time factor that you give for the adults, need not hold good for the children, because we give resuscitation for a prolonged period, and we have found that the children are more resilient, they come around better.
It's more common in patients who are in the NICU or neonatal ICU. So that not in children who are 5-10-year-old running around.
Okay, thank you.
And they do have separate kits for neonatals, and the number and everything is different. The guidelines are different. We're going to conclude. Okay, that's the last question. Okay, thank you.
Is there anything that you could do to yourself if you're all by yourself? You feel the symptoms.
If you're awake enough to do it to yourself, I don't think you're in cardiac arrest. To practice, don't practice on yourself.
Don't practice on yourself. I actually saw something on Facebook that if you are feeling symptoms on those lines, you could perhaps do something like deep coughing or something from your stomach.
But that's for choking in a restaurant, perhaps. Before somebody else comes to do Heimlich maneuver, you could try to do deep
He's
cough.
right. He's talking about the possible heart attack symptoms. You could, as they say, you could cough hard.
Vagal response. Vasovagal response. There
are many.
It's a transient few minute kind of thing. It's not going to really.
No, of course not.
There are many reasons. So if you don't know what the reason is, as a lay person, you can only do what we have told you now. That's why you call for medical help, so that the medical person will be able to identify what's going on.
At least what you can do is, if the person is sitting up or slanting, you can put them on the floor straight. Then the blood supply will be more to the brain rather than sitting up. That you can do. And many people, if it is just a fainting attack, most of the time they will wake up.
We'll close it.
Anything else?
How do you do the international flight?
What is that?
International flight.
We already addressed that topic. Even Bill Thompson, who is the Senior Vice President of Health Strategies in EHA, is not sure about international laws and international flights. So he basically almost all airlines have their air hostesses and air crew trained in the CPR and even the AED, the defibrillator use. So if you know something, you can assist them, but they are the main people, so you can be part of that. You don't have to be the leader.
Okay, thanks. On the flat surface, I was asking that.
We have to just put them in the middle of the seats, because at that time the rules of seat belt don't apply. Thank you very much.
Thank you.